In this video, we'll be talking about interoception and specifically how the ability to interocept supports our mental health and how this can be used in our yoga practice. So, interoception is basically a fancy word for feeling inside of your own body. And there are so many ways in which we interocept every day. When you're feeling full after a meal, that's interoception. If you've been on a run and you can feel your heart beating, that's interoception. If you know you need to go to the toilet, that's interoception telling you to do that. In the society that we live in today, or that most of us live in today, we are so bombarded by external stimuli that our exteroception is much more used than our interoception. Exteroception basically means just understanding and integrating stimuli from the outside world. So in some ways the opposite of interoception. And because we're so constantly demanded to understand and make sense of the outside world, there is not much room for or encouragement of interoception, understanding and integrating our internal signals. There are three main ways that I would like to share with you in which interoception supports our mental health. So the first one of these is that the more clearly we are able to understand and make sense of our internal signals, the more wisely we're able to respond. So sometimes what might happen is we'll spend a day being so overwhelmed by external stimuli that we don't get a chance to feel that there's slowly some tension building in the neck or our heart is racing until we get home, and then suddenly we feel this tension and it can feel a little bit overwhelming and we want to turn away from it. It's often easier to respond to emotions getting extreme or more out of balance if we feel them earlier on. But in order to be able to do this, we need to have developed our interoceptive skills. In that way, if during the day you can feel your heart racing or some tension building, you might choose to go for a walk, call a friend, or do something that helps you to relieve a little bit of that tension. The second way in which interoception can support our mental health is by relating to others. So I don't know if you've ever had the experience of being at a screen or at work or coming from a very kind of externally oriented environment and someone trying to share something with you which is emotionally important for them. And in those moments, it can feel difficult to relate. In fact, it can be impossible to relate. We might be so stuck in that more kind of cognitive place that we are kind of not able to respond to what they're saying, and it creates a little bit of tension. And this is because in order to be able to relate to someone else, we need to be able to understand what they're feeling in their bodies by being able to relate to what we're feeling in our bodies. So if in this scenario someone tells you that they are upset by something, it's not so much that we need to stop and think, well, what do I say to an upset person? But often what that person wants more than anything is for us to acknowledge that we can understand the sensations that they're talking about. We can understand that in our own body. But if we're not interocepting, then it becomes more difficult to do that. And of course, relationships are such a big support for mental health. The third way in which interoception supports our mental health is by giving us a kind of whole and safe, integrated body in which to return to in times when we're feeling out of balance. So our body is not always a safe place to return to. For some of us, it's never a safe place to return to. But yoga can provide a place in which we are able to develop a relationship with our body that feels positive and nurturing, where if we do feel overwhelmed by the external world, it's somewhere to come back to, even if we have a bit of tension in the shoulder or a heart racing or a knot in the stomach. We can go beyond that one point and come back to the whole body experience and hopefully experience that as something grounding and positive, from which then again we can go back to the outside world with a little bit more clarity and balance and maybe a sense of peace. Thanks for watching, and as always, let me know if you have any questions.